Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Gone are the days of wrestling with our favorite LJN wrestling figures, trying to convince them to stand up. What's a guy to do? I'll tell you what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to get on Etsy and look up 4 Left 3D Creations and get yourself these amazing custom LJN figure stands. There is a custom stand available for every single one of your LJN wrestling superstar figures. Make your display shine by grabbing these custom LJN stands from 4 Left 3D Creations today.
Hello everybody, Jason of New Age Revolution Cave with another video. It's Friday. I think we've gotten way off track with the program guide. I know I do Wrestling with the Pass on Saturday and Power Hour on Sunday, which we need questions, by the way, folks. We need questions. I only have like one more question for the Power Hour. Yeah, I need questions. So get them in. Jason, what is it? JasonUp76@gmail.com or TN80rquestions@gmail.com. We need Power Hour questions. And if we stop the Power Hour temporarily, I'll do a Wrestling with the Past because we're this close to WrestleMania and I'm excited about it. We're going to keep the wrestling theme. It is my top 30 most memorable wrestling moments. I don't know what number we're up to. Probably 10 or 11 or 12. It'll be in the title. Don't worry. No big whoop. Tuesday, hey, do you remember? We're gonna be keeping it 80s home themed for the hey, do you remember? I've got another fantastic topic to talk about. We talked about 80s kitchens. Well, what goes along with 80s kitchens? 80s dinners. We're going to talk about that on Tuesday, and I can't wait for that. There's been some memories reawoken by a friend of mine, so we'll talk about that on Tuesday. Memorable wrestling moments. This one involves my dad. Dad memories are special because, so I have very faint memories of my parents together. I have no memories of us doing things as a family. None. My parents divorced around October, November, December of 85. I can't remember exactly when. I know he wasn't around for that Christmas. And I know there was snow on the ground when they got, I don't know. October, November, December 85, somewhere around there, they split up. I don't have any memories of us doing stuff together as a family. And my dad was, he was 28 at the time, already quite grown for 28. 28 in 1985 with 3 kids is a heck of a lot different than 28 in our era, this current era. Okay. So he's aged, he's grown, and he wasn't, I don't know, I did things with him, but nothing really stands out. So any memories of doing stuff with my dad as a kid, after the divorce, I have lots of memories. There was a camping trip, and there was like our weekends with him, the Blockbuster and the pizza night. And he took us on 2 big camping trips, like deep into the woods in Maine and Allegheny State Park, whatever. But as a kid, with them together, I don't remember. He was never a toy guy. He wasn't going to pack me up in the car and drive me to Toys R Us. He wasn't a sports guy. We didn't bowl on a bowling league together. We didn't play catch in the backyard. That was me and my grandfather. So my dad, we didn't do that stuff. So anything that I did with him stands out. So that's why when I talk about, you can see it back there, the Dukes of Hazzard, Mego car was gifted to me at 6 years old or 7 years old by my dad for Christmas, and he wrote on the tag that it was from Dad. And so like that's the one Christmas present that I feel like I remember from my dad as a kid. Well, the wrestling memory, my dad didn't like wrestling. My dad didn't like anything. He didn't like any sports. He didn't like wrestling. He would watch MASH and Benny Hill, and that's about it. So I don't know. My dad just worked. My dad worked and supported a family, and he still has that mindset today. You know, my dad is not into anything today. He's not into anything. So, he took me to wrestling twice, and that's memorable moment number whatever. I have that much of a memory of one event, and I have that much of a memory of another event. I'll talk about the first one first. He took me to a house show at the Rochester War Memorial. I can't tell you the year. I can't tell you who was on the card. I can't tell you anything about it. The clip of a memory that I have is that we had third row on the floor, corner seats. So I was like, I was in good shape. So we got there early. I walked out of the aisle where the seats were, and I kind of went up to the guardrail, and I was looking under the ring. Obviously, I'm behind a guardrail, but I could be 8 years old. I could be 9 years old. I don't know. I'm squatting down and I'm looking under the ring. And there was a security guard sitting in a chair on the other side of the gate. And he was nobody was really in the arena yet. We were super early. I mean, there were people, but we were super early. The security guard was kind of giggling at this little kid, trying to get the scoop on what's underneath the ring. And he actually said, "Hey, do you want to get in the ring?" And I said, "No," and went back to my seat like an idiot. I said no. So I had this one little opportunity to get picked up over the barrier and put into a WWF ring, and I said no. Okay, so that's it. That's memory number one. Wrestling memory number two with my dad is he took me to an Indy show before Indy shows were even a thing. Now, I think my parents were still together at this point, and I have no idea how this came together. There is absolutely no record of it anywhere. But the backstory is my dad at Kodak, which, I mean, you know what Kodak is. Well, Kodak is from Rochester, New York. And pretty much everybody's dad in the 80s worked at Kodak. So my dad worked at Kodak. And alongside my dad at Kodak was a WWF enhancement worker named Chico Rodriguez. And I don't think Chico is his legit first name. That was probably his nickname, but my dad referred to him as Chico Rodriguez. Well, on WWF TV in '84, Chico Rodriguez does a couple of job matches on Championship Wrestling. It's not from Rochester. It's Championship Wrestling from Albany or whatever. Well, actually, they never traveled, so it was the same location. But for whatever reason, Chico Rodriguez was a wrestler who wrestled in the WWF and who worked with my dad at Kodak. And I've seen it. I saw the matches. I don't know if I'm going to be able to Google any photos of Chico Rodriguez. I doubt it. But if I do, they're here. Well, again, I don't know the details, but Chico Rodriguez put on an event, a wrestling event at a city high school gymnasium. It was either a city high school gymnasium or it was a rec center. And I want to say now that I'm remembering the building, I think it was more of a rec center. All right. It was. I'm going to say that. It was not a high school. It was a rec center. And I'm talking inner city, very inner city rec center. Okay. He put on this indie show in '84. It was pre-divorce. So it was '84. And my dad took me to it. Well, apparently there was zero organization to this, because we pulled up, and I remember this. We pulled up to the rec center, and the rec center door was open. And a rec center door is bigger than just a door. It's like a double door. Almost, it might have even been a lift up door. But the door was wide open, and you just walked in. I'm sure that my dad had tickets. I'm sure there was a guy taking tickets, but all I remember is walking in and picking our seats in the very front row. You didn't have seat tickets. You didn't buy front row. It was all chairs on the floor, probably 50. And when we got there, again, hardly anybody was there. And I just sat in the front row because, of course, I'm going to sit in the front row. I'm 8 years old at the time. I'm front row. There's no barrier. So it's just the chairs and the ring on a gymnasium floor in a rec center. It's not the red, white, and blue ring. It's not the WWF ring. Now, I had never seen anything like this before. I'd never seen anything other than the big production at the time of the WWF. I'd been to a War Memorial House show. I believe I'd probably been to one. So I was used to, a big arena, red, white, and blue ropes, the whole deal. This was a smaller Indy ring, probably black ropes or gray ropes or whatever. And it was a Chico Rodriguez production. Chico Rodriguez, and I assume it was for a charity. Again, I have no idea. Well, on the card was a collection of absolute nobodies, nobody that I'd ever heard of, except Ted Grizzly. Chico Rodriguez from the WWF in '84 brought with him 1984 WWF enhancement worker Ted Grizzly. So Ted Grizzly and Chico Rodriguez was the main event of this card for a championship that didn't exist. And they had a championship belt, but it was almost like it was made in somebody's garage. It was like metal with no writing on it. It was just a plain metal plate, with a strap. And it was Ted Grizzly versus, and of course, Chico Rodriguez was the champion, and he was defending against Ted Grizzly. And I thought that was cool. Now, I recognized Ted Grizzly, right? I didn't freak out about it, but I knew that Ted Grizzly was a real guy. The only other wrestler that I remember, his name, two wrestlers. One guy was named Pinky, and he was a effeminate character, and he wore a Michael Jackson t-shirt, and he was kind of overweight. Just totally think adorable Adrian Adonis 2 years earlier, and the guy's name was Pinky. And I just remember him having a Michael Jackson t-shirt on. The other guy that I remember the name was Mad Dog Page. It was a black guy, bigger black guy, kind of, maybe 6'2", 250, 260, something like that. And he was like the missing link. Okay, so he would come out and he's getting in the faces of the people in the front row. I remember he scared the heck out of a little kid because he slammed a chair down right next to the kid in the front row, just like threw the chair down. He's knocking chairs over. He's insane. It's Mad Dog Page. Well, so he wrestles. I don't know who won. I don't even know what happened. Well, a couple of things that stand out. During the intermission or whatever, the same crazy wrestler who's acting insane is signing autographs, off to the side. So me, I'm just this little kid. I run over to him. I've got nothing to sign. I've got no pen. I've got nothing. So he goes, I or my dad or someone went into the garbage can and pulled a piece of cardboard off of a box that was in the trash can, and he signed it in a pen. So signing a pen on a piece of brown cardboard doesn't look good. And I didn't know what his name was. I now know it was Mad Dog Page. Back then, I had no idea what the guy's name was. So for weeks, I was trying to figure out what his name was, and my friends and I had come up with Mad Dog Puke because I couldn't read the Page part. So I for forever, I thought his name was Mad Dog Puke, but it was Mad Dog Page. The other hilarious memory of this card exposed me to kayfabe, or the lack of. So I have to go to the bathroom at this show. And my dad, being my dad, goes, I don't know, it's, down that aisle or whatever. It's down there. So my little 8-year-old self is walking through a rec center, down a hallway to try to find a bathroom. And it's the perfect scenario. There's an unmarked door on the left. There's an unmarked door on the right. I go in the unmarked door on the right, and it's the locker room for the wrestlers. And they're all standing around, and there was a pool table in the locker room, and they were playing pool, and other guys were just standing around. And I walked in, and I can't remember exactly what they said, but it must have been like, wrong door, or I think I said, I think I went in. I remember going in, and all these wrestlers are looking at me, and I was like, I gotta go pee. And they're like, bathroom's over there. Not verbatim, but that's the gist of it. So I went into the dressing room, and then I came out and I told my dad that I went in the dressing room and they were all hanging out together, and I couldn't quite understand why the good guys and the bad guys were hanging out together. And I don't know what happened from there. But that's it. That's all I got. That's the memory of this completely random show with no results there's no results in the history of the internet of this show. It was a Kodak produced, or Chico Rodriguez just brought these guys in. I'm sure Kodak had nothing to do with it, but Chico Rodriguez did a little fundraiser, or maybe he just did it for himself. I have no idea. I would say 4 or 5 matches, 6 matches, maybe. I don't know. I think there was a battle royal. I don't know. But that's wrestling memory number whatever. The wrestling experiences with my dad. That is all. We'll see you tomorrow with Wrestling with the Past. Good night now.